Hi there. Today I'm here with Tom Bragg, and Tom is the publisher at YWAM Publishing. And Tom has known us for 40 years or so. And so we have a lot of questions for him. I'm sure you do too. He knows a lot of the backstory of the Heroes of History series and Christian heroes then and now. So I'm very honored to have you with us, Tom. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So, Tom, before we get into the Heroes books, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you came to get into publishing, what you were doing before that kind of thing.
Well, we were working in Germany, my wife and I, and we had our first child there. And we were working with the American military. And it was a time in the early 1971, 72, where many soldiers were coming to the Lord and becoming Christians. And one of the biggest things we found is we needed Bibles. And so I went to Dave Boyd, who was the leader of YWAM Germany then, and he and his wife and baby and my wife and I had our young son, and we lived together in Frankfurt. And I was coordinating 6 coffee houses in the Frankfurt area, and we needed Bibles. I said, Dave, we need some Bibles. He said, well, put together an order. We don't have much. The funds are low, but put together the order. And I had to pay with the order. And so I put together an order for Bibles, and it ended up, I went up and sat down, and his desk was at the end of his bed, and we lived in a row house. And I said, Dave, I whittled it down and got it down just what I believe we need for right now. But I still need $125. I had to pay with the order. And he turns around, he says, well, here it is. He turned around from his desk and handed me a check for $125. And so we had enough to make this order. And it was from some major at Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, and sent this check and said, use as the Lord leads. That was my first order for books.
Wow.
And over the next 14 years, while we were in Germany, we ordered a lot of Bibles, and we were actually given 100,000 Bibles in 73, 74 that ended up being left over from a Billy Graham crusade. And in prayer, they felt like we were to ask, and we went to Brother Andrew, because Lauren Cunningham, the head of YWAM, had a close relationship with Brother Andrew in Holland. And Brother Andrew said, well, Ken, I can't think of his last name. Anyhow, he's going to be here in Europe. And so Lauren got a hold of him, and he met him in the airport in Frankfurt and said, we feel like we could use 100,000 Bibles and for the American military. And he said, we just happen to have these Bibles left over from a Billy Graham crusade, and we'll check it out. And ended up, if the military would ship them, they would give them to us. And so we got a shipment of 100,000 Bibles. And by the time they got there, I was leading the biggest coffee house in Germany, which is on a big training center called Grafenwehr, Germany. And right from the first days we were there, we were giving out Bibles in front of the PX and commissary. Would you like a Bible? Would you like a Bible? And we'd give them out. And about 3 days into it, I was opening the coffee house about 6 p.m. one night, and I heard this rustling behind me. I probably shouldn't tell such long stories, but I turned around, and it was he's a military policeman. And the military policeman we got to know in the coffee houses because they always came late at night and got free coffee. And I said, oh, hi, Joe, what's happening? He said, I got to get right with God. And he did, became part of our team. And years later, he called me and left a message here on my phone. He was at Fort Lewis, Washington on his way to Iraq. And he said, I'm a chaplain now.
Wow.
And he had no education, anything. I can tell you more stories about him, but he became part of our team. When he wasn't on duty, he helped us run these coffee houses. And go ahead.
So that's amazing. So you got into the Bible distribution in a big way from 100 Bibles.
Yeah, Zondervan told me when we left and moved, Zondervan, who is one of the biggest Bible distributors, said you're the biggest distributor of Bibles outside of an English-speaking country. And we had no clue. We were just trying to get out Bibles and New Testaments to the military and different bases, different chaplains, and we were just serving. That we were there to serve.
So how did that distributing Bibles morph into a publishing house?
Well, at the same time, I started, or after this, a few months, I started trying to find the best books for discipling young soldiers. And it was all men at that time. And these guys were new Christians, they were hungry. And we put a 3-pound coffee can with a hole in the top, and they could just put their money in that in a little card table on the side of the coffee house. And these guys were so hungry, they just lapped up everything we put on the table.
And books. So you just put books out.
And books, that was books, right. And so my goal was to find the best. How could I find the best? Not just any or best selling, but real books that were vital to their growth. And so, and God just blessed it. And it was God. It wasn't Tom's brilliance. It wasn't any of that. We were just available and we were doing it. And I'm kind of a builder anyhow. So I kind of grew it and worked out of had a little box in our closet. And that's where we kept the money, and then we'd make orders as we needed it, and it just grew. And it grew and grew and grew. And finally, in 1975, we felt like we were to move down to southern Germany. YWAM has a castle there, and we would start developing the distribution into the American military. And basically, you start over every time you do this stuff. And you take and sell the stuff you like best. Well, my favorite books were biographies, were Jim Elliot, Nate Saint, Bruce Olson, all these that you guys, a lot of them that you've written.
Right, and they would appeal to military guys who've got some action.
Yeah, sure.
They were military, and
right.
Wow.
Yeah, there was an adventure in them, and so just one thing led to the next, and it wasn't a planned career, but it was a career just trying to follow God and obey what He was saying to do.
And so what made you come back to the States from Germany?
Well, we were doing really well. We didn't want to leave Germany.
Right.
And Lauren, the head of YWAM, he came to me and he said, would you come and develop the book thing internationally? And I said no twice, which is a major thing to say no to him. But he didn't try to twist my arm. He just said, well, would you get away and pray about it? And so I did, and God clearly spoke, and we made the move. Every time you move, you start over, basically.
Yeah.
But I guess I've got a good wife and kids that followed, that heard the same message.
And you started. The first time we met was when we were all in East Texas together.
Right. I was there just for a day or two at a school. And that's when we first met. And then later that year, I think that's when we moved there. And
right.
So we spent a year there restructuring, reorganizing the office. We had an editorial writer's school, which you guys had come to the writer's school.
That's right.
And then within the next year, it was clear that I felt like the Lord said that we'd be there a year and we'd move west. Now, I didn't know where that would be. I never been to Washington or Seattle or anything, but it became really clear this is where we were to move. And and I could tell you all the story of that too.
I bet you could.
part of our life.
So until now, you're still there, aren't you?
Still here, 38 years.
Yeah. So what do you remember about the beginning of the Christian Heroes series?
Well, we felt like the Lord said that we're the biggest room in our publishing house, call them a publishing house, would be the 10 to 15-year-old. And that's just what we felt in prayer. And so, okay, Lord, how do we get there? And so we started I started buying biographies from a couple other publishers, and we'd take them, and we got pulled into the homeschool market and we were God was blessing it. I mean, you try to bring the best you can bring. And unfortunately, a lot of these books that we were selling, the biographies were, well, the next year, people would come back and say, now, which are the good ones and which are the boring ones? And I would go, uh-oh, something's wrong with this picture. And so you start weeding out the ones that are boring. And I mean, really, a number of people said that.
Yeah.
Straight to it.
With the
And
horrific
so we
pictures
said,
on the front. Yeah.
so we started saying, how do we get to books that are really going to touch these kids' hearts and going to move them? And I got to know you guys more when you were at Nia Bay
Mm-hmm.
working with the Makah Indians, which is about a 5-hour drive from here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and one weekend you and Jeff came into town, came in and stayed with us. We lived just north of Seattle, about 15 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And it was either Friday or Saturday night while you were with us. We were sitting around in the living room, and I felt like, just asking, well, you guys are missionaries, you're writers, you ought to write the series. That's my memory of what I
Mm-hmm.
said. And would you pray about that? And of course you did. And the first four, you quietly, I tell people, you quietly, well, you were way out in Nia Bay, it was quiet to me. Uh, wrote the first four, and
Mm-hmm.
that
And
started the fire.
it did. Did you imagine there would be 83 books in the series at any? What kind of projections did you have for it?
I, I didn't have any projections, really. You just want to do a series, and I
Mm-hmm.
know one series had like 42 books in it. One of the series we were selling some of those,
Mm-hmm.
but we just wanted to see. And as we got into them, they were people's right from the very beginning. I remember my first conference to have was in Denver, Colorado, and we were giving away the first one. Or,
Mm-hmm.
can you think the name of the gal's name? Gladys.
Gladys Elwood. Yeah.
Gladys Elward, and they would sign up on our mailing list and take off. Well, the second day, this couple came and they said, "You gave a free book to our friend, and she couldn't come back today, but she said buy two of each of the rest of them." So they bought 6 books, and that just started the fire, I guess you would say. I mean, people started reading them, and the kids started reading them, and the families started reading them, and
Mm-hmm.
they just took off. And we were just singing hallelujah, or whatever. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
and we were
remember
just
that
excited
strategy.
about it.
I remember handing books to people at night, and we would think, "Uh-oh, they're not going to sleep very well tonight." People would come back in the morning saying, "I stayed up till 2 o'clock. I finished the book.
That's
I
right.
need the rest." And
Yeah.
I think we were like, "Okay, there's something going on here."
And I
Um,
told that to a man in Oregon. I remember it. And I said, now don't blame me if you stay up half the night for reading this. And the next day he came back and said, yeah, I stayed up till 3 in the morning. It was awesome.
I, you're
Yeah,
like, "Oops, sorry about that. We warned you."
that's
So,
right.
do you find when you go out to homeschool conventions a lot that you hear a lot of stories from people who've read the books?
Oh yeah, we hear tons of them, tons of stories. I was at a conference in Minnesota, the only time I've done the Minnesota homeschool conference. And it was in St. Paul. And I was standing there, everybody was off to their meetings and teaching
Mhm.
sessions or whatever. And I was just kind of standing there going, wow, God, how did we get to do all these books for all these years? I was just thinking to myself and just kind of saying that. And all of a sudden, this guy comes up. He says, your books have changed our family's life. I go, how's that? He said, well, after we weren't religious. We have 7 children. We wanted to educate our children, but we're not religious. And he said, somehow, that was his words, we got your books, or some of them. And he said, after 3 or 4 books, we became Christians. And he said, after 3 or 4 more, we got radical. And then he took his arms and he went to one side. He said, we started over here. We're 180-degree different people today because of your books. And I just give him the thumbs up sign and say, praise God. I
Mhm.
mean, but that's the kind of stories we hear regularly. One lady came down to our booth, well, in Orlando a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and she said, "Oh, your books! I couldn't have homeschooled without your books." She said, "I have 8 children, and I just couldn't do it without your books." She said, "I tell people that all the time." She said her and her husband have a booth, had a booth up the aisle from us, and she said, "Oh, come up." And she said, "5 of my 8 children are missionaries today because of your books." And so I went up a little later and met this 18 or 19 or 20-year-old daughter. And this is the newest one. And she just became a nurse, and she's going out to Papua New Guinea to
Wow.
be a missionary. And, you just go, wow, it's the
Mm-hmm.
fruit of what we're doing. It's
Mm-hmm.
the fruit of your labors, of our labors, of,
Yes.
together building the kingdom.
Yes. And I do recall uh, a few years ago, there was a man, I think in Oregon, who read one of our books and took it upon himself to have it translated into Japanese. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah, I
That was a
do.
great story.
Yeah. He said these are the best books. They're going to put them on podcasts and give them away to Japanese commuters into
Mm.
Tokyo. And yeah, he did it. I actually bought a couple of boxes from him to give out to people here because we have a lot of Japanese exchange students here
Mhm.
at the colleges.
So he
And
actually,
yeah,
yeah, he sponsored the whole translation and printing and
right.
distribution in Japan. That was really something. That was.
And we got people are doing that in many languages.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, um, yeah, just got a guy doing it now, and he he was a this guy was a Wycliffe Bible translator's kid raised in South America, and he emailed me one day, and so I called him. He's the head of Christian Literature Crusades work here in North America, and he said he was raised down there. His wife is Swiss, and she was raised down in South America too. And he said Swiss German, the German side of things in Switzerland, they want to publish all these books. They think they're the best books for getting families into devotions and reading aloud and different things like that. And so right now they've started doing that. And we already had like 3 books had been translated, but they're just starting to, or 5 books. Actually, Klaus Dieter's book
Mm-hmm.
is in German because he's German. Uh, but yeah, it's just interesting. And they
Mm.
haven't they haven't published a new one yet, but I know that it's in the works and they got a second one coming.
Mm-hmm.
But and even in I got an email again from some guys with hundredfold. I didn't know who hundredfold is, but I think they're tacked onto Wycliffe. And there's an Irishman and a Scottish guy, and they want to publish all these books in Hindi.
Mm.
They said, but they're not going to they're not going to do it in book form. They're going to do it in downloads and CDs. And so they're working on that. I haven't seen one yet, but they said these are the best. And I thought Hindi,
Mm.
wow, that's the biggest uh,
Do we know
Indian
do we
language.
know how many languages they're in?
I don't know. I've heard it said about 20. I've got a bunch of them laid out on the table here. Not for this interview, but
Mm-hmm.
to show people when they come through here, books in different languages. And yeah, I don't know. There's got to be 12, 15.
Mm-hmm. Different ones right in
I
front.
don't know.
And do you have a favorite book from them all?
Well, they're all my favorite. The most recent one's my favorite, but probably Lillian Trasher is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
And of course George Mueller, I read him first book I'd ever read 3 times. And that was back in the early years. That's book back in the early years. But I find they always stir me up. And we have to
Mm-hmm.
stir up the gift that's within us. And uh, I'm listening to Hudson Taylor right now.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the first ones I read, but I'll go back and listen to him on CDs. And I find I'm an audio learner and I'm a slow reader, but after we're doing the audios and downloads, that's been perfect for me. And so we're to do to others like we like done to us, right?
Right. You're your
And
own big
so,
customer there.
yeah, that's right.
Keep a repeat customer on the same books.
And
So,
they touch people's hearts, and they
mm-hmm.
touch
Mm-hmm.
my heart. And that's what we want our books to do.
Mm-hmm. And we have a very big readership and a lot of books translated into Spanish, right?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. 53 or 4 right
Mm-hmm.
now, and
And
we're shipping them
yeah.
all. It's amazing. I mean, today I was out. Uh, well, yesterday I was picking an order that needed to go out today, and so I was just finishing it off this morning. Uh, and it's exciting. It's exciting seeing how God uses them in
Mm-hmm.
every language and every. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Shouldn't be amazing. I guess that's what God told us to do. So He should
And
be.
all the books, but still.
But it amazes me. I mean, I love it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
these are my favorite books,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna do to others like we like done to us.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
And,
so
yeah.
that's exciting for me. But I
Yeah.
get men. The thing that's interesting at conferences, like in LA last year, I did 2 conferences down there, and both conferences, I had a man here and a man there. They come up and I'd be talking to somebody, but they'd stick out their arm to shake my hand, and they're just saying thanks,
Mm-hmm.
thanks. And I guess it's exciting when men come and do that. Women do it very
Yes, that's more
times.
demonstrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
we're just seeing main speakers at conferences. Uh, yeah, and they'll push them. We didn't even know that they were going to push our books. Somebody at one of these last conferences I did, she said a lady brought a bunch of the books up to the front. She was teaching some session. And I said, "Oh, who was that?" I didn't know her. I had no clue who she was. But she was promoting and saying, "You got to get your kids into these books." And that's pretty exciting. That's a
Yes. The last time when Jeff and I were in Orlando, we were doing a workshop, and there was a guy in our workshop, and he actually had done a workshop himself, and his workshop was on discipling your family using biographies, and he specifically used our books, and he had read over 50 of them aloud to his children, and now was doing
wow.
his own workshop on using Christian heroes books for discipleship, and I was just thought, well, that was amazing that he came to our workshop we'd never met before, and he's like, I use your books all the time. I talk about you guys, so that was pretty crazy. So
Yeah, no.
you hear a lot of those stories every time we get together and go to a convention. We hear more of those stories.
Mhm.
So you've been in publishing a very long time. What would you say is some of the main changes that you've seen?
Well, that's a good question. That's a
I
hard
know,
question.
out on the brain.
I guess, we've been more kind of ground level with people, out there, and we did it because they needed Bibles, they needed books, these soldiers, single soldiers, most of them single soldiers. And we're doing it to influence their lives and
Mm-hmm.
everything. I think the main thing I've seen in the big picture is it, it's become more of a business or an industry, and as opposed to the way we've done it in
Mm-hmm.
more grassroots level.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Dang.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know that we watch a lot of the changes, but
Right.
the bookstores have gone through changes and too.
Absolutely.
And now there's far less
Mhm.
bookstores today than there were. And then
So,
you've got
yeah.
your Amazon and
Mm-hmm.
you know the
Definitely.
distribution channels.
And
Uh,
then we have a lot of our books are audio and ebooks now. I mean, these are new innovations. How is that affecting things?
yeah, that was exciting, and we started
Mhm.
doing them. We did about 5, I think, the first year on audio CDs, and yeah, they just took off, and people were using them. They say, yeah, for my dyslexic children,
Mhm.
they have the book in front of them, and they listen to it and follow it in the book. Yeah, we didn't know anything about any of that kind of thing helping people, but yeah, and it goes both for young kids and for older, for
Mhm.
adults. Uh, I've Yeah, I had a guy stop me at the grocery store here. I was leaving, he was coming, or vice versa. And he said, I've got to come by and get a bunch of some more of those CDs. And he said, King County, which is Seattle area, that county in their libraries, they have a bunch of them in their library system. We didn't know anything about that, but uh, anyhow, he just stopped me and said, "Oh, how they." This was a retired guy. Uh,
Hmm.
well, that means older than I am, I guess. And uh, yeah, we just seen it being used nursing homes and different
Hmm.
places where you just don't think about them being used, but people are getting them into those, and your
Yeah.
Christians that work there or whatever.
So
Uh,
did it surprise you that it's sort of become cross-generational?
well, I liked them right from the beginning,
Hmm.
so
So no, you're like, oh,
and
grown-ups.
I would ask a lot of people in the first year or two, because they say, "Oh yeah, we read them a lot as a family," and I'm thinking, "Well, how old are your kids?" And the first guy, I remember, he was said 3 to 16. I said, "Really? Even the 3-year-olds keeps their attention?" He said, "Oh yeah, yeah, it really does." And then I've heard, another guy in Oregon. He said to me, he said, "I said, how old are your children?" He said, 3, 4, and 7. I'm going, "You're kidding?" Yeah, but no, it kept their attention, and these kids will listen to him over and over and over. That's what we've found. Uh, at least these guys
Mm-hmm.
aren't necessarily reading it, but they're listening to him, and so yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they affect everybody.
Hmm.
Download the ebooks. More we see more going or quite a few going international because
Hmm.
it's a lot cheaper and your
Yeah.
shipping costs and everything are outrageous now internationally. But yet ebooks just go
Right.
through the network. Uh, yeah, I don't know.
So that is a wonderful change because, yeah, sending a parcel overseas is absolutely insane now. It's like,
Yeah, oh, you would know that, wouldn't you? Yeah, being from New Zealand.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, I think the minimum thing, if it's not a card in an envelope, is like $50 or something. It's just like,
yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, read the
Yeah,
ebook.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and a lot of people are. I mean,
Yeah,
we get that
yeah.
happening. Uh,
So tell us a little bit about your headquarters there in Seattle. Do you have a warehouse? Do you live above the shop? How does it all work out?
yeah, that'd be a good one, wouldn't it? When
I
we started in the basement of our house up the street, we just lived 2 blocks up the street, and then as we grew, we we had a we had a printer guy a couple blocks the other direction from us, and I went in to see if he could print a little flyer, and he found out that we worked with YWAM, and he had been a missionary in Uruguay, and so he would print stuff for us for years. He's retired, but he's still inputting into,
Mm-hmm.
very interested in getting the books out, and in Spanish too, because he was in a Spanish country. Uh, so we're just up the street, and we saw a sign on the building that said warehouse space available, and uh, we came and looked it over. So we rented the back part of the building, and then as we grew, we rented the next section, and the owner, he had antique cars here, and he had moved his operation down to Portland, and so he created more space for us and moved cars out of here down to Oregon. And then finally he said, "Why don't you take over the whole building?" So we have yeah, we have pretty good sized
Mm-hmm.
building here, and it's still not big enough. I've got a couple of garages at a rental facility across the street. Uh, but that we fill all the time. We're always restacking, restocking, trying to squeeze in more.
I
But
can understand
that's
that.
that's a good problem.
Yes.
It's still work, but it's a good problem.
Mhm. And how do most of your books get distributed now?
Most of them, well, the biggest customer is Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just people that have Amazon Prime and all this stuff, and they just naturally order from Amazon, and you got to let people order where they want to order. But through
Mm-hmm.
Amazon, through Christian book distribution, through some of the distributors, and then some bookstores, and then directly people that order direct to us, and
Mm-hmm.
so we just say, well, hey, however they want to order, let them order them,
Right.
and you got to serve them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we did do a lot of conferences. The conferences kind of have gone up and down, all around, and so we're doing a lot less of
Hmm.
those than we used to. Uh,
I'm sure that a
but
lot of the viewers have probably met you at a conference or gym or
oh yeah, we've done a lot of them.
you've met thousands
Yeah,
of readers, which is
which
kind of
is really
unusual.
fun.
Mm,
Yeah,
gives you a real sense of what's next.
yeah. You're hearing what they like, what their favorite books are, what's your
Hmm.
favorite book, and the kids, same thing. You'll ask them what their favorite book is, and uh, yeah, even books that we think are more for guys, like Jake DeShazer and Louis Zamperini, some of
Hmm.
those, World War II, they're in prisoner of war camps, and uh, so I've had gals tell me, "Oh yeah, Jacob DeShazer, he's my favorite book,"
Hmm.
or Louis Zamperini and all
Yeah.
that stuff. I mean, people they like them all. I mean, just like me, I read them. I read the guy ones first. I think there were six out when I first started getting into them, and I read the three guy ones first, being a guy. But then I went and read the females, and they're all awesome. They're trusting God.
They're crazy stories. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, they're
they're
not watered down versions for the women, are they?
yeah,
Some of
no,
those women went where the men wouldn't go.
yeah, that's right.
That's true.
Yeah, no, like in Lillian, it's by faith. I mean, she was challenged with all kinds of obstacles,
Hmm.
and she taught her kids in the orphanage to love God, to serve God, to build
Hmm.
the kingdom.
And it takes
So
all sorts. We've been doing the summer read aloud, and we did Lillian Trasher's one of the books. And Lillian's style was if you get three bricks together, you can start a new building.
that's right. That's
And
right.
then we did Klaus Dieter John, and his style was very much, let's get it all organized, let's get all our ducks in a row, let's get all the materials here. A very, very different approach, but the same result. So
Yeah, right.
very interesting. Well, we've had a really good time talking to you and learning a little bit about the origins of the books and what you do there in Seattle with your team. So thank you very much for being a part of this, and thank you.
Thank you, and Jeff for writing all these. We absolutely love them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we are.